Well, welcome back to Veteran to Veteran. I'm Conrad Kaskowski with the American Legion post in Plymouth, Wisconsin. I have to say Wisconsin because we found out there's people from a couple other states that actually see this. And with me is Dwayne Wick, also with the American Legion post in Plymouth, and also you are second district.
Second District Vice Commander.
Yeah, he's
Yes.
commander of vice. So, okay. Now we did get a request that we put out in the last show, and the request was for PTSD. Now you often hear these four letters, but really, what do they stand for? And that is for post-traumatic stress disorder.
Okay, so what is the basic definition of PTSD?
Well, again, I'll be referring a lot to notes because a lot of this information was gleaned from the Veterans Administration websites. The post-traumatic stress disorder is a psychiatric disorder that may occur in people who have experienced or witnessed a traumatic event, such as a natural disaster, a serious accident, a terrorist act, or war, combat, rape, or have been threatened with death, sexual violence, or serious injury. Now, PTSD has been known by many names in the past, and there was a term such as shell shock. That was a term used in the years of World War I. And then came along combat fatigue after World War II. But PTSD doesn't happen to just combat veterans. It can occur in all people, but we're going to be discussing veterans.
And the way we should understand PTSD is more of a mental health issue rather than a mental illness.
Yes, Dwayne, a veteran that has been diagnosed with PTSD should not consider themselves mentally ill.
Right. And unfortunately, many veterans have a major problem even discussing PTSD. Many feel if they seek out help or ask questions, they're viewed as mentally ill.
You're right. You're right, Dwayne. Back in the 1960s, if a veteran was caught up in a violent crime, the fact that he served in Vietnam was mentioned. Now, personally, I believe this put a label on Vietnam veterans as possibly unstable. So it was bad enough that those that served in the armed forces back then were unfairly treated without even knowing where they served.
And it's normal to have upsetting memories, feel on edge, or have trouble sleeping after a traumatic event. And at first, it may be hard to do your normal daily activities like going to work or to school or spend time with people that you care about. But what may be the signs of PTSD?
Well, there are many signals, but they're not just limited to this. They're not limited to vivid flashbacks, nightmares, physical sensations such as pain, sweating, or trembling, and rapid mood changes when something reminds a person of a traumatic event. However, PTSD needs to be medically diagnosed.
And what about treatment?
Well, I think first of all, PTSD should never be considered a life sentence. PTSD can be treated. With treatment, trauma survivors can feel safe in the world and live happy and productive lives. Effective treatments for PTSD include many different types of psychotherapy, talk therapy, or medication.
And there are many reports about veterans being treated with medications. Is that the only way that the VA treats veterans that have been diagnosed with PTSD?
Well, Dwayne, again, after investigations, there were many cases that the only treatment veterans received for PTSD was medication, and at times over medication. Unfortunately, only when it was uncovered that veterans with PTSD were over medicated and died as a result that many changes took place. The Veterans Administration is now under strict scrutiny regarding medication for PTSD.
And veterans have unique needs and unique options when it comes to care for PTSD and other mental health conditions. These resources will help find treatment within the VA and understand the benefits and claims process. So what is available for veterans?
Well, the availability of help and assistance to veterans would take up an entire show and then some. So basically, all Veteran Administration medical centers offer assistance and guidance with specific treatments.
What about self-help for PTSD? Could a veteran handle PTSD with other means other than treatment?
Dwayne, that's a real slippery slope, and there are veterans that feel they can handle PTSD themselves. Now, with that being said, a veteran might want to seek out a support group of veterans dealing with PTSD. A call to the Veterans Crisis Line, 800-273-8255. I'll repeat that and you'll hear it again. This is the support of veterans, and it's a Veterans Crisis Line, 800-273-8255, and obtain the name and location of such a group near a veteran's home.
Okay, then would or could I be eligible for disability benefits from the VA?
Okay, this is directly from the VA website. You may be eligible for disability benefits if you have symptoms related to a traumatic event. This is referred to as the stressor, or your experience with the stressor is related to the PTSD symptoms and you meet all of the requirements. You can't function as well as you once could because of your symptoms, and a doctor has diagnosed you with PTSD. The stressor happened during your service, and a doctor has diagnosed you with PTSD.
So what does the VA consider a traumatic event?
Again, this is from their website, and I'm sure that there's other factors included, but they have listed you suffered a serious injury, personal or sexual trauma, or a sexual violation, or you were treated, or you were threatened, you were threatened with injury, sexual assault, or death.
Okay. Well, we covered quite a bit about PTSD, but I have a feeling there's much, much more.
Dwayne, we covered the very, very basics of PTSD, and please, if any veteran has a concern, could you please contact your local county veteran service office? And again, in Sheboygan, 920-459-3053. 920-459-3053. And again, that Veterans Crisis Line is 800-273-8255. We're going to continue this discussion on our next show. However, there was a detective show back in the 80s and 90s where he was coming to the conclusion of the case, and he would always say, and just one more thing. And that being, a couple of weeks ago, I was asked about a veteran. It was this fellow's dad was a Navy veteran and felt that there was some extra benefits to do because he's having a lot of issues and was present during testing of the atomic bomb. And so I directed, and he happens to live out of state, so I tried to direct him to the state's different veteran service offices. And lo and behold, in the June-July issue of the American Legion Badger Legionnaire, in other words, the Wisconsin newspaper for legionnaires, is an article, and it refers to it's RECA, which stands for Radiation Exposure Compensation Act. The United States conducted nearly 200 atmospheric nuclear weapons development tests from 1945 to 1962. The Exposure Compensation Act establishes a lump sum compensation awards for individuals who contracted specific diseases in 3 defined populations, one being uranium miners, millers, and ore transporters, and that compensation, one lump sum is $100,000. This is the one that would include veterans, on-site participants at atmospheric nuclear weapons tests. And that is a lump sum of $75,000. And individuals who live downwind of the Nevada test site, they're referred to as downwinders, of $50,000. Now here comes the important part. Claims can be filed by the participant or the participant's family members from grandparents down to grandchildren if they're no longer with us. Now, there is a time frame on this. This act came about in July of 2000, and it was you have 22 years, it was 22 years to file that claim. So from now, which happens to be 2021, you have until July of 2022 to file that claim. Of course, how do you file a claim? Easiest method, go to your Veterans Service office, talk to a representative there, explain what you have, help you with documents, and so forth. So, again,
We have to remember that then this isn't just an individual issue or the affected person. Now this affects the family as well. They can receive the benefits.
exactly.
So
Like I said, it goes all the way down to grandchildren.
you have to pursue it. If it isn't only for you, it's for those of your family.
Exactly. So with that all being said, I hope there was some information that was helpful, and we will continue the PTSD discussion on our next show. So stay safe, stay healthy, and thank you for watching.